Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. Now my Red Sea Reefer S-850 has been up and running for just over a year, so today I'm going to give you the 1 year update and I'll cover off what's happened in the 7 months since I last updated you. 7 months ago then, this is how the tank looked, and I had two main problems: an outbreak of an ugly leafy algae called ulva and fields of the ubiquitous marine pest that is aiptasia anemones. Now putting the rabbitfish back in the tank after quarantine treatment sorted the algae in a matter of weeks, and as for the aiptasia, I've been using Bergia nudibranchs. And slightly surprisingly to me, the nudies did a fantastic job despite the fact that I have two wrasses in my tank which are reported to eat nudibranchs. It did take the Bergias a good few months to start making a visual difference, but they eventually cleared 95% of the aiptasia, although I think they've probably all died now because the last aiptasia is still there and there are even one or two new ones popping up again. So it might be that I just have to add new Bergias once or twice a year to keep on top of the aiptasia. I'll put a link in the description to where I buy them from. It's not an affiliate link, so I don't earn any commission and there's no discount code, but they are cheaper per nudie the more you buy, and for what it's worth, I bought 7 for £75 including postage. In terms of fish, I've also added about a dozen new fish to the tank, and it is finally starting to look nice and busy. There's too many to mention, but one of my favourites is the Scarus koi parrotfish. I briefly had one of these in my last tank, but he used to scrape at the bases of my most expensive aqua frags, so I caught him and rehomed him. I always suspected though that he was trying to get at algae underneath the acros rather than actually eating the corals themselves, so I was happy to take the risk this time. I've had him for 3 months now, and so far he has been an absolute champ. He's got stunning colours, a big goofy smile, he's always out and about looking for algae, he's completely peaceful, and he hasn't shown any interest in scraping any of my corals. The only thing I will say though is that he's a really active fish, more so than any fish I've ever had in fact, so I don't think I'd want to keep him in anything shorter than this 6-foot tank. Now given I had a white spot outbreak last year that wiped out most of my fish, you might be wondering what quarantine treatment I'm doing for any new fish. But the honest answer is that I haven't quarantined any fish since my last round of treatment, which was as a result of the initial outbreak. I'll make a full video about quarantine at some point, but I just didn't get on with it, and I found that it caused me more problems than it solved. So instead, I'm making a conscious effort to look after my fish better in order to keep them healthy. That means choosing the fish I buy very carefully to avoid aggression, and more deliberate specimen selection, which basically means staring at the fish I buy for a solid 5 minutes in the shop to make sure they're nice and healthy, and walking away if the fish doesn't look right. I'll also be feeding them a more varied and targeted diet while also running more UV. Feeding wise, I still feed frozen mysis shrimp for protein, but I'm also giving them a bit more roughage, and I now feed either nori sheets or seaweed pellets every day, as well as spirulina flakes. And I'm trying to feed several times a day and to feed as much as I can without spiking my phosphate too high beyond its current level of about 0.1 parts per million. In terms of UV, I've added 2 Deltec 48 watt UV sterilizers, and these are one of my favourite recent discoveries because you can submerge all but the top part of them underwater, which means you can mount them vertically in your sump so they don't take up the space UV sterilizers usually do when you mount them horizontally on your cabinet wall. Now unfortunately they don't come with a vertical sump mounting option out of the box, but I made some 3D printed brackets that do the job, and I sell the brackets at my Etsy store, reefdog.etsy.com, which I'll link in the description below. I've also started to make proper use of the frag tank, and I've mounted 2 AI blade grows on the rim of my frag tank, again using 3D printed mounts. And while I only have a few corals in here at the moment, this is going to be a really useful space as my corals grow out and need a trim. Now on that note, one of my biggest problems I have in this tank already is coral warfare. I did my best to space out the corals as much as possible and group similar corals together to reduce stinging, but at the end of the day, many of my corals have long polyps that reach out and sting their neighbours, so this problem is inevitable and will only get worse over time. Now I don't really have a solution to that, and I'm just going to let things grow out and let the chips fall where they may. At the end of the day, a nicely grown out tank looks absolutely fantastic, so if that means a few corals sting each other, so be it. And while I mostly have LPS corals in this tank, I've also recently added a couple of toadstools that I absolutely love. Now they will grow absolutely massive over time, but that is very much future Alex's problem, and for now I'm enjoying the gentle polyp movement that they add, as well as the fact that nothing seems to bother them, and they are extremely hardy. The same though can't be said for all of my corals, and I reckon about 30% of my gonnies and bernards are sulking at any one time. I haven't yet found an explanation. I dose manganese and my primary dosing is kalkwasser, which was very successful on my last LPS tank with gonnies, but while I haven't given up trying to work out where I'm going wrong, gonnies have always been a fussy coral in my experience, and a 70% success rate is just about acceptable for me at the moment. Now the plan with this tank is to be as selective as possible with my coral choices because I don't want to end up with boring stuff. That sounds easy, but it might be easier said than done because sometimes you just need to buy a coral right now regardless of whether or not you want it. But in an ideal world, I'll fill the remaining spaces in this tank over the next 6 to 12 months, then just let it grow out. Eventually, I like the idea of transforming this into an aquapora dominated tank, but that's years down the line, so for now I'm just going to enjoy the easy life and the flowy movement. Now there's one last thing I need to update you on, and it's not the Red Sea tank. As you can see, I've started to shut down the Cade tank over my shoulder after 2 years of running it. It's making way for an upgrade that's going to be here in a few months' time, but I want to give myself a little bit of a break from double maintenance. Now the Cade has been an absolutely fantastic tank, and Cade tanks have some really useful features that you might not know about, so I'm going to do a long-term review after 2 years of use very soon, so make sure you like and subscribe for that. And if you've got any questions, let me know in the comment section below, and until next time, happy reefing.